All right, guys, we're going to rock and roll shortly on today's program. Yesterday was a good show. Excellent contributions from you, Judah Whitcower, yesterday. You know what? We should work into the conversation prior to start. I really enjoyed yesterday's program.
Yeah, yesterday was good. It was a fun time.
A lot of topics we didn't get to yesterday. We'll get to those today on the show. A new food hall coming to Richmond. You go to Dairy Market a lot?
Not typically, but I have started visiting there more often. I went to I got some of the what the hell are they called? I don't even know what those. They're like little spring rolls at Chim.
Nice.
I'm trying to remember what they're called. It starts with an F, I think. Let me look them up.
I like Dairy Market. We go often.
I think I saw them somewhere, and I thought, I got to give those a try. So I went by, and I was like, hey, I'm just going to be in there for like a few minutes. So I just left my car in the parking lot, didn't buy a ticket, and left Liza in there. And
got them to go?
Took me a little while longer than I thought it was going to, but...
You got them to go?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't stay there?
Well,
I would say getting food to go is more challenging in a food hall than a non-food hall. The food hall is all about the in-person experience.
Well, it's all to go.
Well, I mean, yeah, it is all to go, in that each restaurant or stall doesn't have their own seating. But there's plenty of seating everywhere. We'll talk about it on the show, guys. A lot to cover on today's program. Let's rock and roll when you're ready, Jim.
Quiet on the set.
Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us on a Wednesday afternoon. It's good to be with you live in Charlottesville, across the Commonwealth, the country, the world on the I Love CVille network. We're presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary. The best dispensary in Charlottesville is Skooma Boutique Dispensary, with the location on the downtown mall next to Rapture, and a Skooma location on Ellwood Avenue, with more locations in the near future for Skooma Boutique Dispensary. We'll talk food halls on today's show, talk Dairy Market. Huge fan of Dairy Market. Yours truly and my family. We have something for each of us to do. My wife likes Thai food. She likes all kinds of food. Our son, who's 4, has very particular tastes. And the cool thing of Dairy Market is there's a flavor for all profiles. We'll talk about Dairy Market on today's show. We will also highlight the new food hall coming to Scott's Addition. Yesterday, Judah Whitcower and I had a fantastic program on the downtown mall and how we would make the downtown mall better. That show is archived wherever you get your podcast, and of course our flagship website, ilovecville.com. We did not get to topics we wanted to relay to you yesterday because the downtown mall topic was so in-depth and robust with its conversation. So we will get to some of the topics from yesterday, including the Richmond area businesses. There are 8 firms in the Richmond area that are in the Fortune 500. We will let you know what 8 firms in Richmond are in the Fortune 500 list. We will also talk about Charlottesville City Public Schools now ending virtual schooling. The engagement and enrollment numbers for Charlottesville City Public Schools virtual school was quite low. In fact, continuing online virtual school next year, only 15 students in the Charlottesville public school system wanted to do that. 15 of the entire school system wanted next year, next semester, to do virtual school. So public schools in the city of Charlottesville, they pull it. They cut it. They put a stop to it. This should alleviate infrastructure stresses currently experienced within the public school system. Ending the program will ease, as Charlottesville Tomorrow reported, the district's severe substitute teacher shortage. Ending the virtual school program means the existing subs will have fewer classes to cover, the substitutes. That's from Charlottesville Tomorrow. I'm going to give my take on the show on this. We'll get Judah's take on it as well. Judah Wickhauer is our director. We'll talk about the Charlottesville Arts Festival that's starting Friday in Ix Park. The first iteration, first annual Charlottesville Arts Festival, a 3-day event. We will highlight the police chief process. As we touched on briefly yesterday, the city of Charlottesville has a city manager, Michael Rogers of the Robert Bob Group, who's a mercenary consultant, a hired gun. He's doing a hell of a job, but he's a hired gun. He has now started the process with council of hiring a police chief, and council and the consultant city manager are going to hire a hiring consultant to find a city police chief. So the consultant city manager is going to hire a consultant headhunter, and the consultant city manager and the consultant headhunter will work to hire a full-time or permanent police chief. That topic on the show, and same with the topic, and this is very real. It's very real. Certainly kind of the negative or dark side of mankind, but in Associated Press poll, in Associated Press poll, the AP found that Americans were getting very disenchanted with supporting Ukraine and this Ukrainian-Russian war. And the cause and effect, or the direct correlation of this disenchantment, was inflation in the pinching of purses and wallets and pocketbooks at home. That topic's on the show.
Hardly a surprise.
Let's go. You want to go to the two-shot? We'll start with the two-shot. We can start with that one if you'd like.
Yeah, I don't see that as a surprise, although it is. I mean, look, you've got the mainstream media basically blasting it out that everything that's going on right now is because of Russia, which is, to anyone who's been paying attention, a clear lie. And so you've got, people who don't know any better saying, "Oh, well, if us using sanctions with Russia is causing all this, then of course they don't want it. They don't know any better." But most of us know that that the problems with Russia are not what's causing, or not the prime cause of what's going on right now.
I mean, I think the war with the Russia-Ukrainian war is a part of the global inflation that's being experienced.
I think it's a part of, a lot of what's going. I think it's a part of what's going on, but I don't think it's a main driver of inflation.
I mean, the main drivers of inflation are
20
it's a collision
trillion.
of a lot of factors. It's flooding economy with free money.
For the last 2 years,
For the
not just
last 2
free
years.
money. We're talking about as much money as has been printed, more money than's ever been printed before in the history of America.
And then the
like
icing
in the
on
last
cake,
2 years.
And the icing on the cake was all the stimulus money during the pandemic. We know that labor issues are causing inflation.
There's a lot of different reasons for the inflation, and so to think that
Fuel causing inflation.
right,
We know the Russian-Ukrainian war in part is causing inflation. I mean, I'll give you, it's a lot of factors. I mean, one of the things, we talked about this on Real Talk this morning, and Scott Morris mentioned this. For 2 weeks, the entire news cycle was flooded with Russia, Ukraine, and nothing more. And that is not the case now. I mean, what's dominant? What would you say is dominating the national news cycle? Can we go studio camera and get this one on me? Can you go studio camera first and then get this one on me so I can look at you?
all right.
What would you say is dominating the news cycle now? Wouldn't you say it's inflation talk and that's it? I mean, I'd say that's the, maybe not that's it. But I'd say inflation talk is the key driver of the news cycle. I mean, and as we get closer to midterms is going to be the driver of the news cycle.
Okay, but what are you getting at?
What am I what?
What are you getting at?
Russia and Ukraine is out of the news cycle.
Okay.
And when it gets out of the news cycle, you get some apathy and you get some disenchantment
I got
and
you.
you get some forgetfulness because we're not getting bombarded by the news networks with this war. And when you don't get bombarded by the news networks of the war, you soon...
You forget that other people are in horrible, dire straits.
Yeah! I mean, Americans, say what you want, Americans are a lot of things, but Americans are certainly a me first
No doubt.
group of people.
Yeah.
And the me first and the Americans are now focused on household budgets and the money.
Yeah.
I mean, and if anyone doesn't see the vulnerability of what's out there, Walmart, Target, Dick's, all these earnings that have been released have been shaky at best.
Yeah.
I mean, so the Associated Press just did a poll, and according to the results of the AP poll, Americans are more focused on inflation than Russia, Ukraine. And inflation's going to dominate midterms.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Russia, Ukraine.
No.
Russia, Ukraine had pop April. It's not popping now. Not in the news cycle.
Yeah, well, I think I could be wrong here, but I think that might have a lot to do with the fact that the people that have left Ukraine as refugees have either left or they're just not going to leave. They're staying, and the rest is just combat. It's the Russian army against the Ukrainian army, and yeah, it gets a little dry. And certainly,
it's on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
It's on the other side of the world. I mean, it's not right, but it's very American of us.
Yeah.
It's not right. 8 Richmond companies, Judah, recognized as Fortune 500 companies. 8. I was impressed. 8. Performance Food Group, PFG, the major food group, one of the major food groups, along with Cisco, Performance Food Group, that pretty much offer in some way or another a food pipeline to restaurants. Performance Food Group is ranked 112 in the Fortune 500 list. 112, that's a Richmond company. Performance Food Group has yearly revenues of $30 billion plus, $30.4 billion. They have over 22,000 employees, 22,885 for Performance Food Group. Of all the companies in the Richmond area, Performance Food Group has the highest rank on the Fortune 500 list at 112. Altria Group, the tobacco company, ranked 165 on the list. Altria Group has revenue of over $21 billion and 6,000 employees. CarMax is ranked 174 with revenues of over $20 billion and 26,889 employees. Dominion Energy 257, Markle 289, Owens and Minor 361, and Genworth Financial 434, Arco Corp 498. Those are your 8 businesses in Richmond ranked in the Fortune 500. What would you think? Let's localize it to Charlottesville. Of all the businesses in Charlottesville, which one do we think is the closest to being ranked in the Fortune 500?
All those in Charlottesville? Are there any that are close? I mean, I don't know any.
We're doing back of the napkin spitball in here for the sake of a talk show. For the sake of a talk show.
Do I have some choices? Because
Any business in Charlottesville is one of your choices.
I can't. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't think of any that I would think are close to joining the Fortune 500.
I mean, would be the biggest one.
A Charlottesville-based business.
Biggest one.
I mean, don't you kind of have to spread out from a single town to join the?
No. These are businesses based in the area or localized or headquartered in the area.
Does UVA count?
No, UVA doesn't count. UVA does not count.
I don't know that I see any companies that are Charlottesville based, on the cusp of joining the Fortune 500.
Yeah, there's not a lot of depth in these choices for us. Centera Martha Jefferson, not just based in Charlottesville. Centera is not based here. What do you guys think, viewers and listeners? I mean, maybe do you include SNL? I guess it's S&P now.
Yeah, that was like in the back of my mind thinking of that, but I don't know enough about them to know whether they're like actually Charlottesville based or.
State Farm's not based here, and they're no longer headquartered here.
Right.
I mean, it is Bloomington, Indiana. Their second largest campus was on Pantops. They're not utilizing that now.
And I had a friend who was working there who's now who's been sent to Arizona.
So your friend moved?
Yeah.
From Charlottesville?
Mm-hmm.
Could not work remotely? Did your friend ask?
I think she was ready for a move.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's funny, like moving here, so many folks get the sticker shock of cost of living moving here.
She had a place out in just off 29 near the crossroads. I'm pretty sure she probably got a pretty good deal on it as well. I mean, it was a little shack, basically.
Yeah, a cottage. I think that's called a cottage.
Yeah.
A cottage.
Something like that.
Something like that. There's not the depth that Richmond has.
No.
And part of that might be the limitations Charlottesville's commercial real estate has. Like, where's a business that has hundreds of employees going to go?
Right.
I mean, another aspect of real estate that's missing is in Charlottesville City and in Albemarle County, warehouse space. We have a client who needs commercial warehouse space, and have you tried finding commercial warehouse space for a business in the city and the county? It's almost non-existent.
Have you seen a warehouse?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, where Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville is a warehouse?
There might be some on Berkmar.
Some on Woolen Mills, like where the Champion Missile Factory is,
Mm-hmm.
and Decipher back there, but there's very little warehouse space.
Yeah.
Most of the commercial real estate in Charlottesville and Albemarle is Class A, high dollar real estate. And not all businesses that are booming and growing need that kind of setup.
Right.
And speaking of an odd setup, following, we talked about this yesterday briefly, are you following the city manager who's a consultant, now utilizing another consultant to hire the police chief?
I think that's just
Why is a consultant hiring a consultant to hire a police chief?
right. Why don't we
Get a city manager.
Why don't we take a look at who the consultant hired, fire the consultant, and hire the consultant he hired?
Well, then who would be the consultant city manager if you fire the consultant city manager? And we jest. Michael Rogers is doing a great job. The only reason we bring this up is because of the squeeze on taxpayers. It's taxpayers that are fronting, that are paying these consultants. It's us.
Well,
paying the
does
consultant.
the consultant have the authority to spend Charlottesville money hiring another consultant?
The city manager? Does the city manager consultant have that autonomy you're asking?
So there's one consultant who's looking for the police chief, right? He's looking for a new police.
The city manager is a consultant.
Oh, and so he's hiring a consultant.
He's hiring a consultant.
That's less.
The city manager is hiring a consultant, and the city manager is a consultant.
My understanding was that, or at least the way I understood it was that the city had hired a consultant, and the consultant had hired another consultant.
No.
Okay,
The city hired a consultant city manager.
Always do that.
The consultant city manager is now hiring a consultant who will be tasked with hiring the police chief. So a consultant is reporting to a consultant.
But one of those consultants is the city manager.
Yeah.
That's a little, they hire consultants for everything, don't they?
But you don't think it's odd that a consultant is hiring a consultant?
When you put it that way, which is why I was confused
before.
before.
To hire somebody.
That's what I just said, and you're like, oh, but he's the city manager. Well, which is it?
I find it odd that the city manager, who's a consultant, is hiring another consultant, and the second consultant is being tasked with hiring a police chief. A consultant reporting to a consultant is weird.
Yeah.
That's too many consultant layers, right? We're in agreement. Are we in agreement?
Yeah. That's why I called it
How would you describe it? It's
consultantception.
What do you call it?
You've seen the movie Inception? Probably not.
Consultantception. That's a good joke. It's just ridiculous.
That's why I asked if time slowed down when you get to the second or the third consultant. If you haven't seen the movie, it won't make any sense. But
I didn't get the joke yesterday.
Yeah.
Now I get the joke. That joke needs Inception to be mentioned shortly thereafter the joke for people to understand it.
I said consultantception yesterday, and
okay. Anyway, that's where we're at with local government. A consultant hiring another consultant, and the second consultant is going to be tasked with creating a short list for police chief.
Unless he feels the need to hire a third consultant.
The city manager, you guys have heard it here first on the show. The permanent city manager hire will be a key talking point of 2023 city council elections. I am convinced that city council and city hall will not have a city manager hired by the 2023 election. When Lloyd Snook and Juan Diego Wade were on this talk show a couple of weeks ago, and they said they want Michael Rogers of the Robert Bob Group to be the man who is handling budget time next year, I immediately realized that Michael Rogers is going to be city manager, consultant city manager through Q1 of next year and potentially into Q2 of next year, budget time. So at that point, why would they bring in a city manager a handful of months before an election in November where 3 spots on council are up for grabs? Now you would think Lloyd Snook announced he's running for re-election on this program, right, Judah? On the I Love CVille network. You would think that Lloyd Snook, he announced it, he said he was running again. I asked him, Mayor Snook, are you running for re-election? And he said yes.
Okay.
Why do you not? Why do you think that's not an announcement?
Because you're so certain about everything, and his answer was not an emphatic "yes, I am."
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Don't
Then
you
I'm
still
wrong.
have the sizzle reel? Do you still have the sizzle reel? Can you find it? Or did you delete it?
Let me check.
Ray Cadell, you can talk about fireworks anytime you want.
Where would it be?
Kevin Higgins said, Judah and Jerry, maybe the new police chief will be a consultant as well. A consultant hiring a consultant, and the second consultant hired a consultant to be the police chief. That would be so ironic.
A consultant police chief, and then he's
Consultant
gonna.
police chief. That would be so Charlottesville, Kevin Higgins, King of Greenwood. Do you have that sizzle reel from Lloyd Snook? You may have deleted it.
Yeah.
You deleted it or you have
No,
it?
no, I've got it.
You got it?
Let me see if I can get it in here.
So this is Lloyd Snook on the I Love Seville Network talking about if he's going to run for re-election. You have that sound.
Yeah, I've just got to connect it in here. Give me a second. Actually,
Okay, I want you guys to listen to this and let me know if you think this is Lloyd confidently saying that he's running for re-election. I think it is.
Right.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to hear this. So you're going to have to turn my mic off so I can listen to this as well. Are you going to turn our mics off so we can listen to it? I'll listen to it through the live stream and not the studio computer so it doesn't mess you up.
Okay, I'm just trying to figure, because you're going to be listening to it in.
I'll listen to it on my phone.
I know, but.
This sounds like Lloyd Snook making an announcement that he's running for re-election.
So everyone, we are going to be quiet for a second after this comes back on because Jerry will be listening to.
Okay, you got the sound ready to go?
Yeah.
How long is it?
It's like 35 seconds.
Okay, 35 seconds. All right, play it in 3,
Hold on, I'm turning off our sound.
3, 2, 1. Did you say if you're going to run for re-election?
I didn't say.
I was Lloyd. I was trying to help you out by changing
Did you say
something.
that? That you're going to do that?
I probably will.
Yeah.
Oh, look.
Didn't you say at one of the, didn't Ginny Bixby quote you in an article in the Daily Progress, if I run for re-election, I'm going to be held to what I say today? I mean, did you tip it off then? Because I thought that was a tip-off. So you're saying you probably will.
Well, yeah, I expect to, but things could change. I don't know.
Okay. I understand what you're saying. He said, I probably will.
Yeah,
He's not going to change that. He'd change his mind on that.
he might not.
He doesn't strike me as like, he loves this. He lives and loves
But the
this.
last thing he said was, anything could change, and I'm
If
just.
you were a betting man, you would say he's a favorite to win re-election, right?
Yeah, I'd say that it's doubtful that anyone would beat him, particularly in a in a board race.
Yeah, incumbent. The man who's been probably the face of stabilizing the organization, as they called it.
Yeah.
He's probably the face of that. He's the mayor.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd say he's very, very strong win probability
No doubt.
if he chooses to run for re-election. I don't think Cena's going to run for re-election. I think Michael very well could run for re-election with the idea that he still has business to finish, unfinished business, which he
Yeah.
very much does. But the city manager, my point of all this is why hire, if you're going to keep the consultant city manager, Michael Rogers, in play through budget season of next year, why hire a city manager before the next election? And you just allow the new candidates that get elected or re-elected, the 3 new ones a year in November 2023, to then pick the city manager themselves. Because if they pick it beforehand, it's like a lame duck city manager. It's the wrong people picking it.
But isn't that kind of jumping the gun if we're expecting a similar board composition next
I don't think
next?
it's going to be similar board composition.
I mean-
Cena's not going to run again. That seat will turn over.
Yeah, but her seat is not going to be taken by a someone who's Republican or conservative, right? Most likely it'll be another.
Historically, the answer to that would be no.
Right. So
It's probably another Democrat.
so if we keep Snook and Payne, I mean, how much is the composition of the Board of Supervisors board really going to change?
So you're saying they should just pick the city manager then before the 2023 election?
Yeah, if there's not
I
going to be
mean-
any conflict, if however it changes, they're not going to.
We've seen crazier things happen. A perfect example of this was this past November when the Republicans swept Virginia, including the governor's mansion. Because the expectation prior to this past November's election was Charlottesville City was going to get help from Richmond on school reconfiguration financially. And then when the Republicans had such a fantastic turnout this past November, financing vehicles or options like the sales tax referendum didn't get traction because of the Republican sweep. The expectation from council for Beaufort school reconfiguration was a sales tax referendum proposed to voters. And the idea was this sales tax referendum would gain support in Charlottesville City, and Beaufort would be financed in part through that mechanism. But my point is, local government assumed that the Democrats were going to win at the state level this past November. They did not, and that really changed the dynamic of local government. I think it would be an assumption to say that, would you say Payne is a lock if he runs again?
I would think so.
Yeah, I think Payne's got some significant people in his corner. Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. You're basically saying we could probably say now, May 25th, 2022, we could probably pick 4 of the 5 counselors out right now. I mean, we know Pinkston and Wade are going to be on there. Their spots aren't up for re-election. And we're both in agreement that Payne and Snook would be very difficult competition to beat.
Yeah.
They're incumbents. They got brand and name recognition.
Yeah, and I don't see anybody, coming out of the woodwork to try to challenge them for whatever reason they would have. I mean, it's not like I just don't see a big ideological fight that would divide the Democrats in Charlottesville.
Yeah. Does Lisa Green? I'm curious to know where Lisa Green lives, and whether or not she makes a push for council. And I think a name that we should keep an eye on is Matthew Gilligan and how he gets involved civically. I would think perhaps at first it would be Planning Commission. But I know he has aspirations of potentially running and getting civically engaged. And I think both Lisa and Matthew have followings. The Charlottesville Arts Festival, I thought about you when I read this, Judah Wickhauer. Charlottesville Arts Festival starts this Friday. It's the first annual arts festival, and it's at Ix Park. It's going to be a 3-day affair. It kicks off this Friday and runs through the weekend. It's going to be like art, music, and food trucks at Ix.
That'll be fun.
Charlottesville Arts Festival is a great idea. There's
Yeah.
a Crozet Arts Festival, Crafts and Arts Festival, but Charlottesville's going to experience its first one this weekend. I say this once, I'll say it again. Ix continues to do innovative and cool stuff at that park.
Yeah, no doubt.
Every weekend, there is something going on at Ix.
Mm-hmm.
The merchants benefit, the tenants benefit from the activity in the park. I will say it again, Ix has, in the last 10 years, become, if not the heartbeat of Charlottesville, a very close second.
No doubt.
I would say downtown mall still the heartbeat. You can make a very legitimate call for the UVA corner in the 2 slot. Ix, you got to put in the 3 slot. Barracks Road, yes, it's going to drive tax revenue for the city, but it doesn't have the quirky, weird, localized, humanized, personalized nature of Ix Park.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
love that spot.
It's also somewhat disconnected from everything else.
It's almost become its own district,
Yeah.
don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's got
The Ix district.
yeah, it's got barracks on one side, 29 on the other, and again, are you gonna walk to barracks from anywhere?
No.
Not really.
No. I mean, when I was when I was in school, living in Lambeth, and Barracks was right down the road, right down Emmett from Lambeth Commons. Even when you're doing your groceries, you didn't really want to do the walk because you had to carry them.
Yeah, no doubt.
But Ix, to your point, just like downtown, just like Belmont, just like the UVA corner, very walkable.
Yeah, definitely. You can walk. You can walk from one side at Three Notched down to the offices where you've got tacos and coffee and all kinds of other good stuff. And it's there's a little bit of separation from Belmont and the downtown mall, but still easily you can still easily
Barely
walk
any separation.
walk from either one of those to any of the others. It would be nice if it was a little more ped friendly, but it's still not bad.
Curtis Shaver, the chef, friend of the program, all around A+ guy, great beard,
Definitely.
great mountain biker, great chef. I love his video series that he's putting together from his house with his beautiful better half, Julian. Please do more of those, Dirty Curdy. I especially like the blooper reel where you burnt your hand on the pan, and Julian caught that on camera. I thought that was hysterical. He says we're playing a drinking game over at Peloton. Every time Jerry or Judah says consultant, we drink.
I guess we'll have to start talking about consultants again.
Consultant.
You're just trying to get those guys drunk.
Doesn't take much. Curtis, more videos, please, from you, Curtis Shaver. More videos from Dirty Curdy's Kitchen. All right, the new food hall coming to Scott's Addition. I found this interesting. So one of the most influential restaurant groups in Richmond is called Eat Restaurant Partners. Eat Restaurant Partners. To put it in perspective, Eat owns the following restaurants: Osaka. They own, this website is not great, Eat Restaurants, just to let you know. They own Beijing on Grove, Boulevard Burger and Brew, Fat Dragon Chinese Kitchen and Bar, Fatty Smokes, a BBQ joint, Hot Chick, a fried chicken joint, hot fried chicken joint, Food Dog, Asian street food, Lucky AF, AF stands for?
As floof.
Okay. Lucky is floof. Osaka Sushi and Steak, Pizza and Beer of Richmond, Hanover, Red Salt Chop House and Sushi, Wild Ginger, Wong's Tacos, and Wong Gonzalez, which is Mexican cuisine. So they own a boatload of restaurants. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They own 14 restaurants. Okay, that would make them the largest restaurant group in the city of Charlottesville. This particular restaurant group called Eat Restaurant Partners. Well, they just bought a building in Scott's Addition. $3 million building in Scott's Addition to bring the first food hall to Scott's Addition, a neighborhood in Richmond, a district in Richmond that's brewery heavy. Eat Restaurant Partners spent $3 million last week to buy a former warehouse. And Eat Restaurant Partners are going to build this food hall in Scott's Addition, and they're going to feature many of the restaurants that I just rattled off in food stall fashion in this food hall. 17,000 square foot warehouse that was previously used by an electrical company. So I'm impressed with the amount of brands that Eat Restaurant Partners has under its purview, under its ownership. I'm also very impressed that they're buying the real estate and the deals that they're doing when they're opening new restaurants. You talk to Wilson Ritchie. Wilson Ritchie's a smart guy. Most prolific restaurateur in Charlottesville is Wilson Ritchie. Wilson is now only doing new restaurant deals where he owns the real estate the restaurant is housed in. He owns Cafe Frank, the building and the restaurant. The restaurant pays rent to his real estate company that owns the building. He owns the former Downtown Grill building. In the Downtown Grill building, he rented a portion of it to Rockfish Brewing Company, a brewery he is not affiliated with. And he rented another portion of it to the Bebedero, a restaurant that he is a part owner of. There's also office space above the Bebedero and Rockfish Brewing Company. So you're seeing the most prolific players in adjoining markets, Charlottesville and Richmond, scooping up real estate commercial to house their restaurant concepts in. And when the most prolific restaurant group in Richmond spends $3 million on a warehouse, literally a warehouse, and is not going to make any money on this warehouse in food hall until it's completely remodeled, and they're making the estimate that the remodel on this 17,000 square foot warehouse is going to last 18 months and won't be ready until 2024 at the earliest. It shows you how valuable the real estate holding is to the business. You're going to not make any money on the concept for 18 months. You're going to take additional money out of pocket to do the remodel. You're going to spend $3 million to buy the structure and spend more on top of that. And you're not going to make any money for 18 months. And this restaurant group still wants to move forward with it because it sees the value in the real estate and the holdings as the long-term val prop for the company. That says a lot. That says a lot. Last topic I wanted to throw out to the program today was the Virginia men's tennis team winning a national championship. This is the 5th title for men's tennis, 2013, 2015, 2016, 17, and 2022. So 5 titles, 31 overall for the Virginia Athletic Department national championships. We take for granted how good the Virginia Athletic Department is. It is so well-rounded. So well-rounded. Men's tennis is rattling off 5 national championships in the last 10 years. And it's not even more of a to-do, more pomp and circumstance, more parade, and a bigger deal. We take it for granted. This department is well-rounded. It's got world-class athletes on rosters in this department, world-class coaches, world-class recruiters, athletes, and people that perform and execute. 31 national championships for the Virginia Athletic Department. The men's tennis team finished 28-5 on the season, and they are national champions. I mean, you got soccer, you got lacrosse, you got tennis, you got rowing. I mean, look at what baseball's been doing. It is just so well-rounded. Did a good job today. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
No.
Good job today. Rake it out. You can come in anytime
Thank
you
you.
want. Kevin Higgins, the question about walking to barracks triggered a memory with me. JM and JW, you need a show on the history of UVA Easters. Google what Barracks Row looked like when it was canceled. The rebellion from students ended up on barracks at the 4-way stop by CVS and the bank. Thousands of students were there. And James Watson, the king of orbit, would we give up 5 or 6 of those hard-earned national championships for just one appearance in college football championship game? I think a lot of people would. And I think one of the reasons James Watson knows UVA athletics as well as anyone. I think one of the reasons we take for granted the success of the athletic department in totality is because football has not performed better. We are so singularly focused on football because the team has struggled for so much, for so long, that it clouds our judgment. If we had even decent success in football, we would champion the other teams even more. But because football has struggled so much and has had such a lopsided head-to-head matchup with Virginia Tech, because it's so lopsided, the fan base is so focused on this sport and can't get over it. And though that blinder focus is taking away from the support that some of these other teams should be getting. 31 national championships is bona fide. Bona fide. All right, that's the show. Charlottesville Arts Festival this Friday, Ix Park, 3-day event. Seville Public Schools, Charlottesville Public Schools are ending virtual school. There's 8 Richmond area companies in the Fortune 500 list. There's a new food hall coming to Scott's Addition, and the real estate's going to be owned by the restaurant tours themselves. And Americans are starting to show serious disenchantment with the Russia-Ukrainian war, to the point where they're now prioritizing inflation as the #1 concern of domestic households. That's the show. Judah Wickower, Jerry Miller. I love Seville. Thank you for joining us.